Welcome to Make That Paper, the show that talks about all the crazy jobs we do to make the cash we need to pursue our artistic dreams.
And to keep the fridge stocked with Land Shark Lager.
Oh yeah, and on today's episode, let's get the down low on the radio talk show, the old makeup shake-up, and the conversation moderation operation. This is a tongue twister episode. We are your hosts, Jamie Parker Stickle.
And Jason Bieber.
And on this episode, we are talking to the biggest star on Bravo, and we are not joking when we say that. She is an actor, comedian, and radio personality.
Her repertoire of over 100 celebrity impressions are regularly featured on Bravo TV's Watch What Happens Live with Andy Cohen, and have garnered her own daily radio show, Reality Checked, on SiriusXM.
She's incredibly funny and just one of the nicest people, and we are so excited to have her here today. So please welcome to the show the amazing Amy Phillips.
Oh, whoa, thank you guys. Oh my gosh, I'm so excited to be here. But first and foremost, Land Shark is Brett's favorite beer. Mm-hmm. He's obsessed and he's going to lose his mind. If you guys are promoting it on the show, he's going to lose his mind.
I wish I could say that we are. I mean, I guess we are technically promoting it, though no one asked us to.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Jason just loves promoting Brett and Brett's favorite things, which is you and
that's what it
Land
is.
Shark.
Okay.
And-
Listen, I'm plugging Brett Gannell on this episode.
Yeah, you are. I can't wait to tell him. He's going to be super psyched.
Pick
And I'm
one
so
up
happy
today.
to see you guys.
We're so happy to see you. I
This
feel
is
like we haven't seen you since West Hollywood.
Yeah.
That's what it feels like.
The last time I saw you physically in person, I had Jack with me and I had the dogs with me, but we were out. It was outside your apartment on Rodney.
Mm-hmm.
It's a
that's
long
right.
time. Yeah.
Oh my gosh. And now Jack is how old?
7.
Almost 8.
and
He's
half,
a month away.
8.
He's a month
He's
away
8.
from 8.
Jesus Christ.
That's so nuts, you guys.
And Maddie is 5.
5. She's going to be 6 in June.
Yeah, that's crazy.
June what?
June what?
June 19th.
Jack is June 1st. Is that a Gemini or is she like...
Yes, she's just on the cusp. Yeah.
Yeah, Jack's a full Gemini. It's,
Okay. Well, we got to be careful. We got to watch out for them.
It's
I
interesting.
don't know what that
right?
means. That sounded very...
Yeah.
That means one minute he is like an angel, and literally the next minute he's plotting someone's assassination. And I'm like, what is the CIA is going to love you? Like, that's great.
Mm-hmm.
That's
No,
amazing.
he's ready
He's
for
got-
missions.
And his two pragmatic parents are like, as long as you do it well, it's fine.
Right. Just do it right. Do it well. Just be
This
passionate
is
about it.
this is imaginative play, right?
You're joking, right?
like mommy and daddy are joking, right? This is funny.
Right? This is funny. Well, I always worry about that, like being called into court one day and going, but you raised him, so you saw the signs early on. Why didn't you get intervention?
Right. No. Plenty of parents go into court and they say, we did our best. You said, so, we didn't see any of the signs. You're fine. We're all covered.
Listen,
Well,
we had a podcast. We were busy.
Listen, you might end up on a Netflix special and make some money from it. And that's great.
yeah.
Talking about Netflix specials, I want to talk about really quick. I saw Amy, the first time I met Amy, I saw her do her one-woman show and do about 100 voices on stage in like maybe half an hour. And I was so floored. I was like, I quit acting. And I like wanted
She's
to
crazy.
walk out.
She is insane. Certifiably.
But
This person needs help, and I'm here for her.
And I'm here.
I'm not going to lie, you guys. I have been thinking about this since yesterday morning and trying to find the right way to say it because I want to say it authentically, and it is a compliment, and it's like 100% like a Tracy Ullman moment, but in current modern times. Amy, you are like the not fake influencer. Like, you influence in these people more than they can influence people. Like, you are...
You're the Sacha Baron Cohen. You're the Sacha Baron Cohen of influencers.
That's so cool. That's one of the greatest compliments I've ever gotten. That is
I don't know
such
how to
a
say-
cool take on what I do. It makes me feel like what I'm doing is actually worth it.
I mean, it's
working.
Well, It's working, and you're
you.
so revered in the community, and people absolutely. I mean, I read all the comments. That's a kind of I get stuck in the research of things. Like when
Yeah. I love a research. I love an
I'm a,
R&D.
I am so, I don't even need the development. I just want to be the research. Like hire me as the half, and then hire Jason for the other half.
Yeah,
I
that's
just
a good working relationship.
I
it's
come in
so-
with no research and no knowledge whatsoever and just bang something
and
out.
you just develop. You just
That's
develop.
so. That's how
basically-
me and Brett are too. That's
Yeah.
so funny. Yeah.
It's a great pairing. Like
Mm-hmm.
I will pitch the shows and they're like, yes, and they think I'm writing it. And I was like, oh, I am, but I have the developer who outlines
Right.
it all. We're
Yeah.
going to do it together. Did I forget to mention him back there? Because he's
I'm the in-house chat
silent.
GPT, just cranking out words.
It's so great. That's such a great team. I love that.
Well, that's like you and Brett. You and
Yeah,
Brett are a great
totally.
team.
Yeah.
And people don't see always that part because you are the face of the team.
Right, right. Absolutely. For sure. Yeah. It's been like that from the beginning. We've always worked together, and
Yeah.
I'll have an idea and he helps me bring it to fruition. It's like you guys, it's like you have a seed. I just don't know how to get from A to B. I don't know how to quite get there sometimes. And then he
Same.
gets me. Yeah.
Same.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
It's great to have just not just another person to bounce off, but like
Yeah.
someone who knows, who's got like the skills that balance you out, you know?
Yes. And I do feel like my strengths are his weaknesses and his weaknesses are my strengths.
Yeah.
And it's
You must
really
have so many strengths.
So many.
But it's really nice because even when Brett doesn't understand the full story about a joke that I'm trying to tell, I'll try to give it to him in a nutshell. And he can still help me find what's funny about it if I'm not quite there,
Yeah.
He doesn't
Yeah.
always need the context. He just is a comedy writer and knows what works.
Yeah.
So it's great.
Yeah. When we're out, I love that. And when we're out, I don't know if you do this. I will think of something and I'll tell Jason, I'll say it out loud and then, try to decipher his reaction to it. And then if I get the big laugh or like, oh, that's good, I'm like, oh, write it down. So he also works as my assistant.
Right.
If that
That's
happens
great.
for you guys, I'm
No,
like,
he does not take
write
notes.
it down.
Mm-mm.
Oh, Jason's a big note taker. But
Oh,
it's
good
mostly
for
just
you.
because he likes to use his phone and he just voice apps everything to a notepad.
We are turning into our parents, and I'm not afraid to say it.
Nope. It's pretty great. It's really like, I'm like, you guys suck because you guys, this has been your big secret the whole time. Like, this is pretty great. Whatever. I said it. It's fine. I love age. So I have so much to say to you. I have so freaking much to say to you, Jason.
I'm excited.
Well, before you do, before we say too much, I think maybe we should ask some things, like questions.
Okay, because just don't let me forget I want to fit in this hour the cookbook as a side hustle. That's like really when I just feel like
I would say
influencer
cookbook
title
falls
just
under
turned influencer.
alternate income streams.
Yes. So don't let me forget
Okay.
to get to that. Okay, go ahead.
Okay.
Ask her a question. Go.
Well, yeah. So I wanted so you've got a kind of a bunch of day jobs and side hustles that are all kind of dream jobs. And I think that's amazing. And I want to just start with this first
Wait,
one.
let me interrupt. They are, but also that doesn't mean that the chess piece isn't always moving, right? The bar isn't always moving. Like you're still, like that's the point of this show too. Is there's more. There's always when you hit something, then you're like, oh, now right. And I want to talk to you about that because.
Yeah.
I think that that's so important, especially as women, when we're finding avenues in a male-dominated field, which is radio and writing and comedy. Everything you do is a male-dominated field, and you're breaking in and you're constantly moving that piece further, right? So go ahead, Jason.
Amen.
I'm sorry.
Amen to that.
I needed to get it out.
Yeah, amen. Amen to that.
Yeah. Now back to the male-dominated field.
Okay.
My question is about your radio show. Like I know that this came from the genesis of this was started with the impressions. You were just you didn't even start on Bravo. You were just doing sketches on like YouTube, right?
Yes, and one Jason Bieber himself helped direct and create one one of my favorite
A
videos.
certain Bethany Frankel. Was that who we were doing?
We did Rachel Zoe. Did we
Yeah,
do
it was
two? It was
Rachel.
Rachel Zoe has a
It was Rachel.
baby, and we set up in
Yes.
the apartment, and you filmed it. I feel like did we do more than one video? But that's the one that I remember that you did with us.
I think we filmed. We did more for. We only filmed for one day, but I think we filmed more than one video.
Oh, okay. I gotta
Or
go
maybe
back
we
and
were.
look and
There was
see.
like a pickup for another video. There was something you needed. I don't know.
Oh, okay.
I
Well,
mean,
that is one of my favorite ones, and it looks so good because so
I
much of
love
the
that
stuff
one.
that I was doing, it's on, my little HDMI camera. And so when I moved to LA back in like 2009, and I was putting together character reels, for just the industry and being a sketch comedian, one of the things that I was doing other than like original characters was celebrity impressions. So I would do all like, Ellen DeGeneres or like Liza Minnelli and Sarah Silverman at the time. And I infused some Bravo personalities in there too. I started to do some Bravo videos on their own and put them up on YouTube. And what I noticed was that those were the videos that were getting the most attention. And they
Yeah.
started to go, as the kids say, viral at the time.
viral.
Yeah.
That's so great.
So it was just a weird, thing because I didn't necessarily see my career going in this direction, which I'm sure is such a huge, probably underlying theme of what you discover when you're doing your podcast is that typically happens with most of us in this industry is
Yeah.
that you just start to lean into whatever door is opening. And so
Yeah.
because I was getting these opportunities and getting attention from in a niche where nobody was hitting, no one was doing sketch comedy of Bravo material. No one was doing
Right.
impersonations of the housewives or anyone on Bravo. And Watch What Happens Live wanted to show my videos on their show. And so I built a relationship with them and with Andy Cohen, and they were like, we want to like pay you for these videos. So I started to just keep doing them and keep doing them. And I thought, well, I'll just keep doing them until I can't do impersonations of these Bravo celebrities, as they call them, anymore. And I still am doing them to this day, which has been like 12 years. And it has just basically gone into, it's branched out into so many other areas. So at some point about 8 years ago, I remember getting in touch with Andy Cohen and saying, I want to do a podcast about the Real Housewives. And there weren't a lot of podcasts at that time, for one, and there weren't a
Yeah.
lot of podcasts on Real Housewives, for one, which
Yeah.
fast forward to now, I mean, it's obliterated with, everything is littered with podcasts. It's
Yeah.
everyone's doing something in that space. But I was like, I want to do a Housewives podcast. Do I have your blessing? Because he was so supportive of me. And he said, well, yeah, but why don't you do it on Radio Andy, which hadn't existed yet. And I had no idea he was starting his own channel on Sirius XM. And he said, well, you're going to be the Housewives, person. I don't have anybody else doing that. It's not going to be like a Housewives channel. I want to do all kinds of different things and you can kind of cover that. So it basically went from 1 day a week to 2 days a week and then to daily. So I made Monday through Friday. It's an hour show. And it is packed full. I mean, it's never enough time. I do like double recaps in a show. I'll do news and feuds. That's a segment where I basically am talking about, what's happening on social media and like
Yeah.
the hot news,
That's my favorite portion of the show.
Oh,
Keep going.
have you listened, Jean?
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
thank
Of
you.
course. Of course. Yeah.
I
mean,
don't know where you are in your Bravo journey. I didn't know if you watched any of the Housewives or any of the shows. Are you
I watched
still?
two. I'm obsessed with Orange County and New York. Those are the
Right.
only two I watch, to be
Right.
honest. But I
Yeah.
do like the new baddies episodes, the ones that have been kicked off, expelled, and now they go on vacation together.
The ultimate
And-
girls trip. Yeah, those
Oh
are
my
good.
God, those are so good. Dorinda, I can't. But 90 Day Fiancé is my jam, so I need you to get
Okay.
into the 90-day space.
I did dabble in that for a hot second and I really enjoyed it.
Yeah.
But then because there's so much content now, because now they're filtering over into Peacock and we've got all these below decks. And so there's just so much to cover. I can not even, move outside of that, but I try to every once in a while.
Yeah.
And I
But-
imagine, like with everything that you cover, just in a given episode of your show, how much time you have to dedicate just to consume
Just to
all this
consume and
content.
To
I know.
research. That's the research, right? I mean,
research.
It
that's
is.
got to
It's
be like
hours of it's
hours.
hours of it's a full-time job. I mean, honestly,
Yes,
like it really is,
100%.
which makes it difficult to do much else, but you have to because like I don't get insurance through Sirius XM. I'm under contract. So I don't get insurance. So I've been, this whole time I've been under SAG-AFTRA. So I'm trying to keep my voiceover career going so I can qualify to get
Wow.
insurance. So that's a whole other thing. And
Yeah.
then everything else that comes with just, doing the videos, keeping up with social media and any other like random thing that comes my way. And it just feels like things pop up here and there and you just have to kind of just keep going with it.
Are you doing a lot of regional voiceover commercials still? I mean, I know you were a voice for Michigan commercials for a long time, right?
Yeah. And well, when I lived in Detroit and then I moved to Chicago, I did voiceover there. And
Yeah.
then when I moved here, I just have done I'm not doing voiceover like I used to. I mean, that used to be my gig, my full-time gig. That was my bread and butter.
Yep.
But when my show went to 5 days a week, I really had to pull back from doing the auditions because I just didn't have the time. And it's
Of
all
course.
about you have to do the auditions in order to get the job. So it's just basically the lingering accounts that I had that were paying the bill. So I would just get my
Right.
bookings and that's pretty much it. And then every once in a while, like an audition came through for the Stephen Colbert show for a Martha Stewart impression. And I thought, this is a beautiful, beautiful time to throw my hat in the ring. So I ended up booking that job for a bit on that show. But like, I typically don't like do auditions anymore just because I'm so busy and it's making me
Yeah.
nervous because some of the accounts that I have are starting to go away. And I'm like, my insurance. So, but for like, 10 years, that was my job. And then
Yeah.
everything else that I did with like the sketch comedy and on camera stuff was all side stuff that it wasn't like I was depending on that money. It's the voiceover stuff.
And let me ask you this, just so we can be clear for everyone who um, is wondering: is acting full time, like on a scripted show, an
On
ultimate
camera?
goal? On camera, scripted show, performing, regular cast member. What is your where are you on that chessboard? Where are you moving to? Because like that changes over time. What we
Mhm.
thought in our 20s, being a celebrity actor or a star actor is what I want to do. I
Mhm.
want my own show on
Yeah.
TV, or I want to be a movie star. Um, to now going, oh, I'm influencing and creating community in the world, doing the thing I love, and I have
Yeah.
fans, and that feels like I feel like I'm in my space and I'm
Right.
blossoming here in this world.
Yes.
Do you?
That's pretty much it. I mean, you pretty much nailed it because
Okay.
like I was saying before, you just have to kind of keep going through the doors that are opening and
Yeah.
and by doing that, you really have to release whatever idea you had in your head for what you thought was right for you. Because sometimes it's like, well, I mean, radio is such a great medium for me. I mean, I love to do voices.
Yeah.
I like to do interviews. I like to do sketches. I can do radio sketches. I like to recap things in a comedic way. I love connecting with people who listen to the show. They call in and on social media we connect. So in a way, what I thought I wanted to do, which is just like, well, be on SNL, be a comedy actress, be on a sitcom, do all the things that, what the cookie cutter things that you thought when we were coming up, you do
Yeah.
until this world opened up that is all new to all of us. And now it's just a space where anyone can create whatever they want. And you get instant feedback if people like it, and
Yeah.
you get to know what you're doing is worth your time or worth anyone's time to entertain people. So
100%.
in a way, you don't have to wait and hold your breath for that opportunity. And I never have. That was one of the things that like I will go on the auditions, I would go on the general meetings, I would go do, all this stuff, but I never stopped creating my own content just based out of passion and love for wanting to have fun and just be stupid and just do things that I like to do.
Yeah.
And I just think that if you follow what you think is funny, if you follow what you really like to do, somehow it will end up working out because it's just you create your own niche. You create something that no one else is doing.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think you kind of answered the question I'm going to ask, but I want to ask it anyway. Was there a point along the way where you felt the momentum taking you down one path and you
Hmm.
Did you have a moment where you're like, wait,
Yeah.
this wasn't the plan? Do I need to get back to the plan?
Yeah, it was really, it's so funny that you said that because I never really thought about it until right now. There was what I felt like a bit of a fork in the road. So like when I was doing when I say like celebrity impressions, I just mean, just the basics, not anybody on Bravo, like
Not
not
your
reality
niche,
stars.
yeah.
And then I somehow got connected doing like sketch and comedy stuff with like Bob Odenkirk. So when I did Scott Aukerman's podcast, I got connected to Scott Aukerman and did his podcast Comedy Bang Bang. And I did it several times as different characters, like because he would have, impersonators on, and it was just like the perfect mix of improv with like improv nerds and like celebrity impressions. I mean, it was just like, this is what I was built to do. Like, this is it. And so when I was doing that show or doing that podcast a few times, I just felt like I felt very special because he had so many amazing comedic actors and just comedians on his show that I was like, I can't believe that I'm one of these people that he's like letting me be in this group. And I just was like, this is so it felt ridiculous. Like, why am I here? But it felt so good to be a part of that.
Yeah.
You just feel like a part of the cool kids club.
Yep.
Yeah.
So when I was doing that, what ended up happening during that time, it was like I was starting to really take off in the Bravo sphere. And so I really started to hone in on those Bravo videos, and I started to kind of pull away from doing like mainstream other stuff. And just so it kind of felt like I was like cool kids, I can't stay anymore because this is becoming more, I'm getting more things from this. It just kind of felt like I couldn't do both. I really couldn't. I mean, it just felt like I kind of fell away from that and then just had to keep, because I couldn't start. It takes time to form an impression. So it's like, if I'm going to go back on like a Comedy Bang Bang or do another video on a regular celebrity, I have to work on that impression. If I'm going to do,
Yeah.
Selena Gomez or something like that, I have to
100%.
sit and study but instead of doing that, I started to learn more of the housewives. So that's where I'm saying I brought my attention on to those characters instead of mainstream characters, and took myself away from what could have been a different road for me. And I don't know where that would have led, but it just seemed like, I don't know if it would have led anywhere, but I know that I needed to go in the direction that I needed to go. And that's what I chose. So there was a little bit of a fork in the road where I had to kind of split away from like what I thought would have been a pretty cool, like being in that cool kids comedy club. You know what I mean? This is a weird way to branch out, like impersonating reality stars, because it's a whole different audience altogether. Like there's not the same audience that was following me the time that I was doing like Comedy Bang Bang and some other stuff are not at all the same audience of reality TV. So it's like you
Right.
can't really blend the two crowds. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
It's very few and far between that you can get somebody who can appreciate listening to a Comedy Bang Bang episode and listening to my show now. It's just like not, you know what I mean?
No, 100%. I mean, I think it's interesting because we understand it to an extent where most of our listeners are Midwesterners and like middle of the country listening to people that they've, in the industry that they don't have an idea of. But when people in the industry listen to our episodes, they get really frustrated. They're like, it's depressing, man. It's depressing me because like I haven't hit it yet and I'm still doing the side hustles. It's sort of the same thing. Like this show's audience is not who I necessarily thought it was going to be. It's bigger and people in other fields listening to how somebody in this field or on the West Coast is actually hustling for their career,
Absolutely.
which I think is, I think what I had a guest last night in my class, and he talked about making choices because he's a screenwriter, and there was a point in time where he was making a lot of money as a UPM or as a producer, and it was like, at what point do you make that transition where you pick, and it has to become like it's a personal, and I forgot the other P word. It's personal and something else, but business, like ultimately
Proprietary.
because but you have to decide, like, Am I going to have a family? Am I going to be able to support that family? Am I going to have health insurance? You know, like at what point can I just be freely creative? Because freely creative artists, you know, we don't make a lot of money. So you definitely need to choose some things that are going to provide you happiness and funding.
Yeah.
And then sort of live also that creative life.
You can do both. That's the thing. You just can't wait. Because the longer that you wait around, even, I mean, and I don't necessarily speak in these terms all the time, but like energy wise, that's so stagnant. And you're not going to attract anything to you. Even if you're working at Barnes and Noble, you know, you're moving your energy around. You can always use the time when you're doing something else to be thinking creatively. I mean, that's the whole thing with like, with what we do. When we have a project, what do? We sit there for 5 minutes and then we go and we organize everything in our house.
Oh my God, we're like so much laundry.
Right. And because you just need to be doing something in order to get those wheels turning. And sometimes a day job or whatever hustle you're doing to keep you afloat can actually be that for your creative mind. It almost can push you further because you're forced to focus on something else, but in a way it can push you further. And a lot of people who I talk to about like having kids are like, I don't know how I could do it, you know, because of all the things that I want to do. And I'm like, I understand that totally. I would have said the same thing, which is why, well, I did say the same thing, which is why we waited so long to have a child. But it's so
us too,
and for you too. And so it's like, and certainly for the first, you know, couple years, it is a sacrifice for sure. You really do have to give up a lot and you have to focus on one thing because you really can't focus on a million things. But as they get older, you really can. You can start totally multitasking. There's more time and you're able to accomplish more because you're up more. You don't sleep as much. You're constantly forced to like organize your living in the most productive way because you have to. So you're like, I have to do this really quickly. So I'll just jot down these ideas or I'll just do an outline right here and I'll come back to it. Or I'll do notes on my phone or I'll do a voice memo or I'm driving in the car. So I'll think about this. Like you just end up giving more deadlines for yourself, I've found, you know, than I used to ever, which is weird.
I think the first several years of being a parent was actually just training for being a multitasking machine.
Yes. Yeah. It's a superpower. I feel I work differently than I used to. It's kind of an amazing thing to experience.
Yeah.
The things that would rattle me before.
Yeah.
No big deal.
But also learning how to be a different kind of coworker because it's true, children are tyrants and it's like it is like being with an abuser. Like they're so abusive and also they love you, so they're sorry, but they're so abusive.
I'm calling Parent Protective Services.
So I think we definitely think it gives you a sort of patience with your life and the people you may work with after having that child. It's pretty amazing. So my child hasn't said I love you in 3 years. I'm just going to put it out there for everybody to understand that he says, well, I don't love anybody or anything. I only like. So I do like you.
Oh, that's sometimes that can be better than love. Because
I agree.
He loves me, but he just doesn't.
3 years, guys.
Yeah.
Do you
this
say,
mama
you know what?
Heard I love you.
I love you, Mama? Do you say that to him?
Mm-hmm.
Does he repeat
all the time? Last night, Jason was like, when I say love, you say mama. When I say love, you say mama. And he's like, I'm almost 8.
I'm not falling for the banana in the tailpipe.
It was so funny. I can't tell you. Okay. So we're going to talk about, go for it.
I was going to say, all right, so I'm going to go in a different direction because of kids and having a 5-year-old at home. I imagine that something else that you're doing right now might be difficult because you're touring. You're touring with a cabaret show.
Yes.
I am touring with a cabaret show, but I have dates.
Cabaret me.
Cabaret me.
Yeah.
The dates are very few and far between. I just got it started. So like, I'm not, you're not going to see my graphic up like Dallas 4 of 17, Detroit 4 of 18 and a half. Right. You're not going to see like city to city.
Yeah.
Right.
But I've done it 3 times, twice in New York, once in Boca Raton, and
Okay.
I'm coming to do it here in LA. I mean, I am in LA, so I'm gonna come to LA.
You're just gonna leave the house.
I'm gonna leave the house.
Uh-huh.
Chicago. So I have some dates that I'm working on now, but I'm not overwhelming myself with like doing a million. So
Okay. So there's not going to be like, mommy, where have you been?
no, it's hard, but she's used to it now. She's because I do have to go to New York a lot. And
Yeah.
so now she's like, I'm like, and man, I get in and I get out so fast.
Yeah.
And it's very unhealthy. Like it's you get no sleep at all, but I just am like, I need to get home. I need to get home. So there's no real bumper on each, in between like before or after the show. I don't stay long. I go in, I do it, I come out. So I just go in and go out so I don't lose too much time with my daughter.
Yeah.
And are you going to New York? Not so you've done the show, the cabaret there twice, but you're also doing Bravo events there, right?
Yeah, I do Bravo stuff. I'll go there for Watch What Happens Live. When we did our book tour, we went there and we did some stuff there. BravoCon was there, which I know Jamie knows all about. BravoCon, for
Yes.
you guys who don't know, it's like the Comic-Con for people who watch Bravo, and it's a really big deal, and people lose their ever-loving minds, and that was really fun to be a part of, and totally chaotic. So
It's so interesting to me. I have to tell you, you're very tall and gorgeous and like present. But when I see these standing next to the housewives, they are in like platforms and they have like the fake lashes and they have the hair pieces, and I'm like,
All
Amy,
the
you
stuff.
look 4'11".
I know.
I'm like,
I'm a little munchkin. I know.
yeah. I mean, everything about them is all of a sudden they're like the 50-foot woman.
Everything around you. Yeah.
Oh my God, it's insane. And I can't. I went to Disneyland with Jack. We took Jack to Disneyland with some friends a couple weeks ago.
Oh, fun.
And yes, but yes, and not yes, but yes, and
Sometimes it's a but.
That trend of being like a real housewife has transcended to women visiting Disneyland. I mean, there were lashes like this, and people had platforms on, and their hair was done, and I was like, "It's Disneyland. Like, you're gonna sweat and walk 13 miles. Like, what's happening?"
Their feet are gonna
Their
fall
feet.
off.
Oh my gosh! This is
my
what I
God.
also like about 90 Day Fiance is because those women, they take their platforms off like Darcy and Stacy, and they're like, "Look at my ugly feet because I try so hard." And they take their hair out on the show, and you're like,
Amazing.
"Oh my gosh, you are so real. This is crazy."
I love it.
It's down and dirty. But yeah, I just want to talk about how Bravo has created a section of celebrities that is larger than movies. It's larger than television. I mean, this is a universe. This is like a Marvel universe, but it's Bravo universe.
Yes, I know.
It's like, I mean, and people do parody shows. There was a parody show on Hulu, but I have to tell you, it didn't work because they could never authentically be what is already in existence. Do you know what I mean? You can't be
That's what I always
satirical
come
about what
across
is
when I'm
satire.
doing an impression. I'm like, how do I make this more than what they are? Which is
Well, you're
always,
nailing it. You're nailing it.
sometimes I'm like, I can't even do it. I'm going to step away from doing this person. I don't know how to do it bigger. But it's more exaggerating what they do and like kind of, latching on to some of the things that I feel like they say, and then I just make it very repetitive and then make it like a thing,
Yeah, the repetition is what kills me. When you
The repetition, yeah.
It's the repetition
That's
every
the,
time.
The
Trying to
Dana
hone in
Carvey
on
technique.
Well, Jason will always be like, I'm watching you. I watch you religiously, and Jason will be like, "Oh, Amy, is it Amy?" You're just
Amy?
like, "Yeah,
Am I
it's
listening
Amy."
to Amy?
It's like you listening to Amy. It's very.
I didn't know I was a part of your universe.
Oh, you're
You
part
are.
of my universe, and
Sweet.
You're part of the JCU.
yeah,
Hello,
and
I'm so happy to be in it.
sometimes it'll actually be like Dorinda, because and Bethany, but
make it nice.
Jason will be like, "Is it Amy?" And I'm like, "No, it's really them." And he's like, "Amy sounds better." Amy sounds better. And he
That's
means
really
it.
funny.
It's
Sometimes
really
I'll-
funny.
I'll email Sonia and give her notes. Watch Amy.
Sonia.
What? You, Jason told you that like his dad used to be friends with Sonia and
That's
Ramona.
right. That's right. I did remember. Yes, yes,
Oh,
yes. Gosh, I
rest in
can't
peace,
believe
Papa
that.
Allen.
Yeah.
And they
Yeah.
referenced him on the show once. They talked about him on the show once when they were in the Hamptons, and
What
I
did they
was like,
say? Really? I didn't.
yeah,
It
what
was
was
a
it?
throwaway. It was just they said like when we were at Alan's house or something.
Oh my gosh.
Isn't that so funny?
That is so cool.
Forever enshrined
Yes, indeed.
in
Holy
in
smokes.
Roni history.
Yes, that's not easy to do. So congratulations.
Let's hope that they don't run for president because Jason went to school with the Trump kids. And when
Yeah.
he was running for president, like they had phone calls, like several of you and your brothers had phone calls from like news outlets like, do you want to give a dirty line or tell us a dirty secret? I was like, oh my God, that's crazy.
Wow. They
That's
found you.
crazy.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Wow.
They
So
were
what
digging
secret
deep.
did you tell? No, I'm kidding.
I've got. Listen, I thought very carefully about it because I have stories, but I
Yeah.
thought none of these stories will actually sink the ship. And this is one of those
Yeah.
situations where if you're going to come for the king, you don't miss.
Yeah.
So,
and you
yeah.
and you don't throw like, well, at the time, now those boys are just like bleh. But at the time it was like, well,
Yeah, they took
how
care of
awful
themselves.
are they? Like why, they're anyways, we won't talk about it. We can
It's
move
not
on.
that show.
They have their own help to sink their own ship, but you have
Yeah.
integrity. So you
Yes.
didn't do that.
I
which
got to keep
respect.
mine. I got
Yeah,
to keep
that's
mine.
great.
Yeah.
That's a good way to live.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Some people
Yeah.
in your class didn't. Some people in your class spoke up.
Yeah, but other people in my class
That's-
ended up being part of the organization. So
Yeah, that's true,
Or
too.
the presidency. Yes, I grew up in New York City. Yes, I knew all these people. It was very fancy.
It's
I've
very
got
fancy.
I've got off-air stories to tell you about everybody.
Ooh, salacious.
You
Yeah.
should tell her after the show so that she can do some dirty secret bits. But I want to know, is everything that you do aside from Cabaret Me and maybe that under your contract? So like you go to New York because you're under contract, or is that in addition to? Are these a la carte things that they're giving
a la
to you?
carte. So
That's great.
Sirius XM
Okay.
is I have a contract with Sirius XM. I have a contract with Watch What Happens Live if I do a video, or an on-air appearance on the show. And then when I did do BravoCon the two times that I've done it, those are like, I mean, they did not pay me at all. They paid for my flight and my hotel, but they did not pay me to be a moderator for the Orange County panel. They did not pay me to do my cooking demo with Chef Stuart O'Keefe. And but
Yeah.
we got a booth where we could sell our cookbook. So we
Great.
did make money.
Okay.
Okay.
And it's one of those things where it was like, well, I'm not going to say I pitched to them to do a cooking demo. I also pitched to them if I could do some stand up, open up their crowd for Watch What Happens Live. And so that was just for my own, because I wanted to get out there and just do some material. So
Yeah.
I wasn't expecting to get paid for that. That was just like my own thing.
Yeah.
But I pitched them the cooking demo and they agreed, but we didn't get paid for that. Watch What Happens Live opening, that was just for me. And then when they asked me to do the Orange County panel, they didn't pay me for that because they say moderators don't get paid, but it's an opportunity that you don't want to like miss. But it is bullshit. I mean, they should pay. And I think that the Real Housewives that go and they do their panels, they get paid,
Sure.
But because Stuart and I wanted the opportunity to sell our cookbook there, they let us. And there were not, like, as far as the kiosks there, it's all only mostly just Real Housewives selling their stuff. So like we were outside of that realm and they allowed us to do it. So like
Yeah.
that's how I feel like in a way they did pay me because they let me kind of get in there. And and then I did a Radio Andy thing. We did a Sirius XM thing for that as well. But it's one of those things where it's like, well, I spent a lot of money on like wardrobe and food and transportation and all this stuff. So I maybe broke even doing that, but even
Yeah.
still working with them and for them, it doesn't always pay off. It's just like the opportunity you just kind of have to sort of take it. You know what I mean?
100%.
You build
Yeah.
your brand and your own
Right.
value.
Right.
Can you just reminded me of a question I had earlier. It must cost a fucking fortune to be able to have the wardrobe and makeup to be all of these women.
It's
Yeah.
a lot of money over the years. And when I was doing voiceover, as I said, as my bread and butter, because I was making a decent living doing that, it funded me buying all these wigs and props and costumes. And now, like for Cabaret Me, I, that's also quite the investment. Just flying to
Yeah.
New York, putting myself
Yeah.
up, and then paying my piano player and the tech and all this other stuff. I mean, I'm not really clearing that much money. Even on
Right.
these sellout houses, I've sold out twice in New York and in Boca. It's still a lot of expense. So, again, it's just like one of those things where you just have to kind of weigh it and figure out how you can rob Peter to pay Paul. But
Yeah.
after all these years, I have so many wigs. So it's not, I still have to buy new wigs here and there, but I
Yeah.
haven't, but I still have such an enormous collection of them that I can reuse them for so many different characters. So I don't
Yeah.
spend that much money on wigs anymore.
But where do you
Anymore.
keep them? Do they have their own bedroom?
Thank God they have their own a cabinet in our garage now.
That's amazing.
Yeah, thank God.
Um,
Because it's terrifying. I mean, anything, when there's more than a dozen of anything, it's terrifying. You know what I mean? Like kittens,
Yeah.
more than a dozen. It's scary. More than a dozen wigs. It's scary. Anything.
Yeah, totally. And I just want to sort of encapsulate that again for people like you're doing the creative part and you're paying for your creative adventures in the part and the other part is your business stuff that
Yeah.
they're paying. So like you are getting and you also do a show and I don't know if you guys are going to go do it at UCB now, but Mama's Boy, wait.
Yeah. Our Mama's Boy
Your
show.
improv show, yeah.
Yeah. Oh God. I just had like a
Yeah, that's it.
total brain blank for a second. And I was like,
No,
oh my
that's
God.
totally it.
Well, I
Yeah.
was thinking of all of a sudden Vicki Lawrence popped in my head and I was like, what is happening to me right now? Okay. So Mama's Boy, and I don't know if you guys have found a home for it like UCB because it was a Second City regular show that you did, I think monthly. And it was great and it was creative and like something that gave you an outlet to perform, as an actor instead of a personality, right?
Yes.
Because there is a fine line between being a personality and being an actor and throwing yourself into something else, right? And that release.
I'd say it's a pretty thick line.
Okay, well, some people would argue, I don't know, so I try to be really polite on that politically in the art world. But I think like that you need that as a creative. Like you're such a creative person to have that show.
I mean, the Mama's Boy show, we started to pull back a little bit towards, the end anyway, because Mary Beth and I both had kids. And then now we just like live so far away that it doesn't even make like I don't know when we will ever do that show again. If it's not like for the Detroit Comedy Festival or something,
Got
that's
it.
when
Yeah.
we've done it. And to be honest with you, because the radio show is such an improvisational thing for me, it's performing every single day live.
Yeah,
So it does feed that void in a way.
I love
Certainly nothing is like live improv on a stage with your
Yeah.
your besties and making each other laugh. So that's irreplaceable. But it's okay in this time in my life that I'm not doing that. I'm fine with it. And I think for the most part, like Mary Beth is probably fine with it and Nancy moved away. So, again, if we do it, it'll probably be like Detroit Comedy
Yeah.
Festival or some other festival,
That's great. That's great. I mean, you have
Yeah.
all these things. Yeah, babe.
Oh, no, I was going to say, speaking of all these things, there's when you emailed us, there was only one thing you actually listed as a side hustle.
Yes.
Uh-huh.
And that was being a rep for Saint, am I pronouncing it correctly?
Yeah,
Saint
Saint.
Makeup. Yeah. So how did that come
Yeah.
about? And like how like I've seen your videos promoting it online, but how do you go about doing that? How did that come? Yeah, how did it come?
Yeah,
about?
I
Also,
didn't-
it's so smart because makeup, Instagram,
Right?
makeup, TikTok. This is like Such a smart side hustle. Okay.
Right?
Okay, go
I
ahead.
know. And it
So
makes
smart.
so much sense. That's
Yeah.
why it became something because this whole time that I've had, that we're all on social media, I'm on the radio, I do ads on my radio show, blah, blah, blah. But I've never taken advantage of endorsing any products on my social media on my own personally. Like, it's
Yeah.
just not something that I've wanted to do because it doesn't feel organic. And I just, if I get a message about selling something, I just ignore it and I move on because it's like it doesn't fit with me or what I want to do. So I've never gone down that road of trying to sell anything. So then cut to like last summer, I was trying to find new makeup because of all these events that I had to do. And I'm just like, I, I do like makeup. I've always loved makeup, but I just feel like I wasn't getting anywhere with what I was using.
Yeah.
So I was trying to do some research and I saw all these videos and a friend of mine sells Saint makeup and I saw like the whole put the dots on your face and use the brushes and do all this stuff. And I just thought it looked really cool. So I got in touch with my friend who's from Grosse Pointe, Michigan. And I was like, I want to try this because I really want to get new makeup for like all my events and it has to like look good. And so she hooked me up and she told me what to get, did the whole color match thing. And then I tried it and I was like, oh my God, this is like the best makeup I've ever used because it's cream makeup. And when you get older, it's really important for mature skin to have like this cream makeup because you start to dry out and blah, blah, blah. And I love the way like the brushes, like it's just so soothing to like apply your makeup with different brushes. And you can do it really, really super fast, or you can totally take your time and like really blend and, pat it in and there's just different ways to do it. But anyway, so when I started loving this makeup and I was talking about it a little bit on my radio show and people were reaching out, they're like, what makeup is it? And I was sending them to my friend. And then I was showing my friend Mary Beth about this makeup. I was like, you have to get this because this is so easy for like busy moms and it looks really good. And she's like, oh my God, that was like a magic trick. You have to sell this. And I was like, maybe I should. I mean, maybe I could. And then I got in touch with my friend who sells it. And I'm like, I think I want to do this. And then I found out it was an MLM. So I was like, oh, well, I said to my friend, I'm like, this is an MLM. And I said, what are your thoughts on that? She's like, Amy, I didn't even know it was an MLM when I started selling it. So I'm like, okay, well, what is an MLM? Like, what is this whole thing? And after doing my own research and development, I was like, I have no problem with this company and it being an MLM. I mean, it's really no different than like corporate America. It's literally like
Yeah.
women trying to sell makeup and making a commission and the money goes to them instead of through, and you're not trying to, you're not getting charged anything that you don't need. You don't have to do things. It's a whole, like I think MLMs get a bad rap.
Well, they're teaching MLM. You have to take MLM in MBA school now and undergrad. Like they have added, because so many women were doing MLMs as their own business, that they have added it to the curriculum. I love research. They've added it to the curriculum of business school. No development.
No way.
But I am going to buy the
It's
Saint
all
makeup from you.
research, no
I am,
development.
because I'm super psyched about
Oh,
the
you
Saint
are?
makeup. Because you look
Have you tried
flawless. No.
Oh
No.
my God, I'm so excited. I'll totally hook you up.
I have not tried anything. But I'm just like, oh, Amy and I are both from Michigan, and this looks really good on her. And I don't think she's doing the facial planing. I won't facial plane. Like, I'm not going to scrape my top layer of skin off my face.
Right. No, that's not what that is.
Right. And I think the cream doesn't like stick to my little peach fuzz.
I don't think it does. And you can do it heavier light. I mean, anyway,
It's
am
good
so
for
excited.
auditions. I
It's
saw
for
like you were
auditions.
looking so amazing. I'm like, oh, I need that for.
It is because it's very much like makeup ready, It
Yeah.
is like camera ready, I should say.
Yeah, I mean, you are looking flawless when you're doing the Saint makeup, and you do it so fast. And I don't know if you have like a speed through or what you're doing, but I was like,
No,
oh.
it's legit that fast. It can be as fast as you want it to be, and if you do it really quickly, it'll still look good. Is what I'm trying to say.
It's amazing. I'm definitely.
I love it. And then I
buying it.
decided to sell it because I was like, well, I actually believe in this, and makeup for me, for my whatever. I don't really use the word brand a lot, but for what I do, it completely makes sense.
100%.
And so there you go. So that's really a side hustle because I see that as something that is completely outside of the world of entertainment, which is totally like those are my jobs. Whereas like
Right.
the makeup thing is almost like a passion and just like a side hustle where I make money, but it's like a hobby because I'm learning all about color matching and the makeup. And it's just like really cool. It's such a great escape from all the stuff that I do. That's why I love it.
Yeah, I 100% agree. It does. I'm just waiting for like a wig maker to be like, will you
I know.
be the face of our wigs?
Will you
I
be the
definitely,
face of our wigs?
I definitely see that happening.
We're looking
next.
for the Sacha Baron Cohen of influencers to push our wigs.
I mean,
We need someone who
see it.
becomes a lot of different people.
I see it. I see it.
Doesn't?
Because again, you are the influencer of. How did I say it? It took me so long to develop a sentence to.
But you're right on
to
target because I
say.
call myself the realest, fakest housewife. That's
Yes.
what I call myself on SiriusXM.
Yeah.
You're the
So it is.
realest,
I'm the
fakest
real
influencer.
fake influencer. Yeah.
It's amazing because there are TikTokers that like make fun of, but you're not making fun of. You're satirically, but also believing in, and also going, but hey,
Right.
it's such an incredible feat that you have conquered.
Well,
I
thanks.
love it.
I appreciate that. And same to you guys, because you guys have carved out your niche and everything is in the realm of what you guys love to do. And you are literally making that paper while
make
you're
that
doing
paper.
what you love.
Yeah.
You
A
couldn't we
little
couldn't
bit
call
of it
the
here
show
and there,
side
yeah.
hustles or side gigs or any of that because shockingly that is a big term in business podcasting. Like there's so many business podcasts that talk about day gigging and side hustling, and I was shocked when I was listening to them. I was like, oh, this is I just thought actors had the corner on that. I guess not.
Wow.
Isn't that crazy?
That is shocking.
Yeah, and then I listened to a lot of MLM things and found out about business school and MLMs, and I was like,
my gosh.
I know how to procrastinate by
I
looking.
love it.
Research.
I
It's
love
all
it.
research.
You should be an investigator
She is.
of life.
She-
It
she
is. It's one of my
is.
hobbies. I love to investigate.
There's an upcoming project.
I tried to get my
that
PI
makes the
license
most.
on the side because I just
That's
love
your side
investigating.
hustle. That's
Yeah,
your side hustle.
but it's like
we had someone outside of our house that in tinted windows that was staked out on a
of
job.
course you did. Of
That's
course
just
you
a
did.
pervert.
I was like, what is going on? And I talked to my neighbor. I'm like, this person's been sitting there. I can't see in their windows. So finally a neighbor went out and asked, and he was like, I'm on a job. I'm a private investigator.
Who
And I was
cheated?
like,
What's happening?
I know. I said, Brett, did you hold on. Chef Stewart O'Keefe's calling.
Yay, Chef
Did you,
Stewart.
are you trying to investigate me, Brett? Do you think I'm having an affair on you?
I'm here all the
I
time,
can
man.
see the private investigator. You're gonna have to do a better job. And Brett and he was like pretending to go out there. She can see you. She can see you.
Pull down the
funny.
street.
That is so funny.
Release the drones. I feel like the last 3 years were not great for private investigators. I feel like that whole industry
Right, yeah.
maybe.
It really tanked the poor private investigators when everyone's on lockdown.
Yeah. Oops. This was such an amazing episode, and I think like your positivity and the idea that you can do it all, you just have to make choices in which direction you're going to like put more emphasis and which ones you put like I always talk about this
Yeah.
idea that there are 4 burners on a stove. Unless you're rich, you get 6, but most of us have 4 burners on the stove. So those superpower burners, those are the ones that you're always going to choose first. And then the simmer, doesn't mean you're giving anything up. You're just constantly rotating what's getting the hottest heat at one time.
I
And
love that metaphor. That's a great metaphor.
You didn't laugh though, so I think you might have 6 burners.
Oh, you said 6?
I said if you have 6 burners, you're rich and you don't need to worry about it.
I do
you
not
get
have
yourself
6
an au pair. But I can't take credit for it. My friend Ruth from Australia told me that like 15, 20 years ago, and I've lived by that because she's very successul.
It took
Very
me 10 minutes to
successful.
figure out that she was trying to say the word burner.
Me or Ruth?
And I bet you've got 4 burners.
I know. She's an Aussie that has the thickest accent ever,
I
and
love
you
an
need an
Australian.
interpreter. But it's true, and I think though that you embody that as an artist and a businesswoman, and and a mom. And so I really thought it was so important to have you on the show, and I know how busy you are, so I'm so thankful to you for
I'm so happy that I
coming.
could be here. And One last thing that I wanted to say
Yeah.
was that during the time of like trying to figure out where I was going to lean into and push harder in that direction, I really had to release a lot of stuff. So a lot of the times we are, as performers and as improv people, we always want to say yes.
Yes, and yeah.
But I will say it sometimes it really you honor what you're doing if you do say no to things that are not
Yeah.
going to serve the purpose of what you're trying to build, because it can be a waste of energy. There were a lot of like improv shows, sketch shows, podcasts that I did say no to many times because I knew that I was working on other things and I wouldn't make any headway if I spent those hours doing the things that weren't going to, what I felt weren't going to get me where I needed. And that's not necessarily because I didn't want to do them, it's just because of time. And so I would say, respect your time and, don't be afraid to say no to certain things because they might not go with whatever it is that you're trying to do if you've got limited resources and time. And
that's okay.
saying no, that's,
Yeah.
you get used to it.
Yeah, and don't worry about the FOMO. It will go away. So
that's
if you're
true.
like 23, like some of my students listen to the show, and I'm always like, you're 21. Yeah, you're going to have FOMO, but you have to accept that that will be cured at some point.
It will be, absolutely.
So say no, and if somebody's
be glad.
hyping, yeah.
Someday you will be our age and you will not only not fear missing out, you will be thrilled to miss out.
Thrilled to miss out. Wait, there's your new spin-off podcast.
Yeah, thrilled to miss out.
Thrilled to, it's
Because-
just me on a couch.
When somebody's birthday's approaching or somebody has a new show out, and I like hold Bieber's hand and I'm like, please don't make them invite us. Please don't let them invite us. Like, I'm always like, I can't afford a sitter this time. I'm tired at 7.
With the kids.
My
It's a
God.
lot. I know. We got to
So
get to
much.
bed,
Yeah.
It's a lot.
I'm going to parody Anthony Bourdain's show. It's going to be No Obligations.
Oh, I like that even more. That's so good. Let's do it, babe. Let's do it.
Right.
Just not going.
No, sir.
Amy Phillips, you are fantastic.
You're so
Thank
great.
you so
How are
much.
you guys? I'm so honored that you would have me on your show, and congratulations again.
Congratulations to you.
To you.
She showed on Monday, made love on Tuesday. By Wednesday she was down. We fought on Thursday, made up on Friday. But now I'm losing ground. You call me lazy, you think I'm crazy. So why'd you come around? She want my money, but I got no money. This ain't no savings and loan. She showed on Monday, made love on Tuesday. By Wednesday she was down. We fought on Thursday, made up on Friday. But now I'm losing ground. You call me lazy, you think I'm crazy. So why'd you come around? She want my money, but